Hello, everybody. So I wanted to just briefly update you with some of the upcoming changes to the Shadowlands beta and some of the changes that Blizzard has listened to us about. So some of these changes are really, really looking cool for a number of reasons. So without wasting any time, I'm just going to jump straight into them for you. These changes should be coming up onto the beta. It should now be live as of today, as of this video airing, or over the next couple of days, whenever this next update is going to be upcoming. So, Convoke the Spirits. This is the Night Fae class ability. This is the ability that casts 16 random Druid abilities based on your specialization and all that jazz. It's now going to be usable whilst moving, in all forms, which is amazing. If you're a healer and you can't stop and cast and you can, I can jump into, I can just jump and use my Convoke Spirits and I can move around, reposition, whatever I got to do. That's amazing. As a Feral Druid, it feels great because what always seemed to have happened whilst I've been testing this ability on beta is as soon as I press, the tank will keep the mob in place for an hour. The moment I press my Convoke the Spirits ability, suddenly the tank's going to pull them halfway across the room. So this is really, really good because obviously if you're not in melee range, then you're not going to be ferocious biting and all that nonsense. So this is really cool from a feral perspective. For Boomkin, it's probably just going to be nice playing around with things like Volcanic and, whatever other, spell effects may be targeting them. So really, really nice change. This is a big buff to Convoke the Spirits because 4 seconds standing still is kind of risky, We then have the Adaptive Swarm. This is the Necrolord class ability. This is the one that increases the potency of your periodic effects by 20%, I believe it is. So this has two applications, and when you apply it onto, say, a mob, after 12 seconds, it'll then jump to a different mob. Or, after its timer, it'll then jump to an ally. And then it will then jump back to an enemy, and it will kind of keep going back and forth for as many stacks as it has. It will always jump enemy to ally or ally to enemy, depending on which one it's at first. This can be a difficult to predict ability, so it's really nice now that we have this, this favored for Moonfire, Rip, active mobs. This is going to be a lot more easy to control, and yeah, like I say, a lot more predictable. So this is kind of neat. It's just going to allow you to kind of predict better when using Adaptive Swarm. I mean, Adaptive Swarm in itself seems like one of those abilities that you're only really going to be using in a raid environment. So where you probably only have 1 or 2 targets anyway. But it's going to be nice that it's going to be jumping to the mobs that you're going to be favoring your bleeds on. It will not, however, merge or stack 2 swarms together if it can avoid it. That's good. It means you're always constantly it'll always constantly, if you have 2 mobs, it won't just put all your stacks on one mob. It'll look to split them up evenly so that you're always, improving the periodics of both targets. And then the healing swarm was already pretty smart, and there are no further changes to it right now. Fair enough. If that's how they're seeing it, if it's working on the healing, then that's fine with me. I know that did have some funny effects, like it would jump to random mobs, random mobs near target dummies and allies and stuff, but that's fine if that's working. Now this is the big one. Bloodtalons trigger change from use, shred, rake, and thrash to use any 3 different generators, and this is huge for multiple reasons. So continuing on from a lot of feedback on this, the goal is to make it more flexible and cause fewer rotation clashes while still requiring a moment of planning to trigger. So this is great. So the reason that Bloodtalons on the beta was such a problem and such a nuisance, I mean, I know that I've made posts on the beta and on, Twitter and stuff at the devs and, trying to get their attention. It's because we're losing Wild Flesh Rending, which means thrashing on single target does not feel good. And also, shredding and raking on large AoE packs also doesn't feel good because you're losing DPS. So really, this was really sucky no matter what situation you're in, where you're always going to be using an ability that you didn't really want to use. Especially when we're having energy pooling problems, this is a big deal. But now it's any 3 generators. So this is amazing because now we can use generators that we actually favor during that environment. But not only that, we're going to be in a situation where suddenly Lunar Inspiration is pretty powerful, because now on single target you can shred, rake, and Moonfire, which is like a massive buff to that talent, especially if you're using something like Adaptive Swarm and increasing your periodic effects anyway, or if you're using something like one of the other legendaries, the Moonfire legendary, this bad boy over here, wherever it is. Oh, I can't even find it now. I don't have it on this character. Of course I don't, typical. But the one that increases your Moonfire damage, that's going to be really cool for that. So yeah, this means this is going to be really great because the reason Bloodtalons was such a nuisance on beta was because it was very punishing. If you pulled your energy poorly for even just a second, and you kind of started your rotation just slightly too early, so that you don't manage to fit the three, the thrash, the rake, and the shred within that small window, then suddenly you were using an ability, you were using a finisher that was going to be unempowered, or you were going to overcap on combo points, or you'd have to repull your energy. So it felt really like, it didn't feel very smooth at all. Whereas now, if you're able to Moonfire, I mean, that's a lower energy cost comparable to Thrash, or it's just going to be nice to be able to, be able, on AoE, be able to start your rotation with Rake, then Thrash, then Swipe. It's just going to be a lot better, because this was kind of really punishing for you to, in AoE situations, use Swipe, because then you're wasting energy on Swipe, but then you still have to make sure you have enough energy to still Thrash, Rake, and Shred within those Bloodtalons windows. So it's going to be really nice now that we're going to be able to alternate with Thrash and Swipe and whatnot, and it's going to be a lot smoother in those areas. So that's really, really cool. I really, really like this new Bloodtalons change, and it's going to be a lot more comfortable to use and a lot less punishing. So that's great. Runecalf currently called Druid Runecalf 3 on beta. Hot tick rate. This was incomplete, ambiguous in the last build, but we are trying a version that compresses both tick rates and durations taken from old abilities like Jagged Wounds and Glyph of Rapid Rejuvenation. That should be in and working next build for testing. So, I don't really know what this is about. I don't really see what this is about. I'm not 100% sure, just clearly reading it. I don't know if it's just kind of like a renaming, rewording of things. But yeah. Some of these changes are looking really, really cool, and I hope you guys like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.